And New York's 11th, there is a real race going on there with an extraordinary candidate. And Michael DeVito, I'm so excited that you're going to get a chance to meet or see again Michael DeVito if you've seen him again, because this is an extraordinarily accomplished person. And Michael's an ex-Marine, and he's somebody who has been awarded all of these different accolades, from the Bronze Star, Gold Star. He was he's in the Veterans Hall of Fame. But what he's done with his life is he's reconstituted in all these different ways. He's an inspiration. He's a community leader, and of course, he's progressive who has shunned corporate money. And for that reason, he's even more to be applauded. And I've only given you a thumbnail of him. You have to learn more about this race, and I want you to meet Michael DeVito now. Michael, welcome to Rebel Headquarters.
Hey, how are you? Thanks so much for having me.
It's really a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you. There's a weird fact about the race you're running, and I think it has a lot to do with the candidates involved. Give us a sense of, and I know it's probably weird to not speak disparagingly about your opponent, or you want to be respectful. I think that's kind of your background. But the candidates you're running against, it is sort of defies logic that you'd be on the ballot against candidates of the sort that we're seeing.
Yeah, so just first thing, in your intro, when you mentioned Gold Star and Bronze Star, I do not have those awards. Just so very clearly to make sure that the record there is straight.
Oh, okay.
As far as this incredible place that I am trying to represent, which is Staten Island and South Brooklyn, we have an interesting race that is happening. On the Republican side, the former DA who did not indict the officer who killed Eric Garner. We have Michael Grimm, the former congressman who was recently let out of jail. We have a blue dog Democrat in the race, and it is a contentious primary between a number of other Democrats who are new to politics, as I myself am, where I've been serving this community for the last 13 years, helping young people get re-engaged in education and onto the workforce. I have been on the ground, completely committed and completely dedicated to Staten Island. And because of that, I've been able to navigate and have seen the inequality and the inequity in our system as I've been navigating the bureaucracies of homelessness and the disparities in education, the trouble with our opioid crisis and trying to get young people in and out of recovery, dealing with young people who are engaged in the criminal justice system, going into incarceration, coming out of incarceration. And my commitment is deep, and my level of awareness of our issues is as deep. The things that I've seen on the ground in the last number of years really just completely speak to the inadequacies that we have in our nation today, that we see across the country. Staten Island is what we call a microcosm of the entire country. We're seeing it even here right now, where we have the Local 3 union, who are 384 days on strike against Charter Spectrum, trying to fight for a fair contract. So they're fighting against corporate greed. And we know that the reality is that until we start to work to get big money out of politics, we're going to have our backs against the wall.
And as you say, you're up against some big money in this race, because when you mention the Blue Dog PACs, you're talking about big NRA, Monsanto money, Pfizer money, all pouring into that candidacy. What are the you're more than just a guy with talking points when you speak about the community. I know you worked in secondary education. You can correct me if any of these facts are wrong, but I believe you really have a firsthand experience with the community in ways that you don't really find with a lot of politicians. So again, these are more than just talking points. What are the issues that crystallize that community? You mentioned a few of them, but in every community, there are a handful of issues that people really spark to.
Yeah, well, as we're out there talking to people, I will definitely say that the fear that everyone has around trusting their representatives, trusting their government, connects directly to the big money that's in our politics. When people are connecting to me and they're hearing me talk about issues that make sense to them, that they're struggling just to put a roof over their head, that they're struggling with their health care, that they're working 2 and 3 jobs. My young people that are coming out of the programs, that as we reconnect them to their education and they get onto the workforce, they're not just working 1 job. They're struggling to just make it. So I say that we're all just 1 or 2 bad breaks away from losing everything, and that here on Staten Island, that is a real reality. In South Brooklyn, that is a real reality. We're struggling with some of the longest commutes in the country. People are traveling, upwards to 1 hour and 40 minutes to even more, 2.5 hours just to get back and forth to work. I'm talking about one way, and there's no time for anything. So our quality of life is affected, and then we're dealing with a lack of opportunity, a lack of jobs that you can, as we say, walk to work. And I believe that we need to invest meaningfully in our failing infrastructure here, and particularly in our transportation. And if we do that, then we have an opportunity to put an entire generation of young people to work, of people to work who have been struggling, who haven't been able to find jobs with living wages. And if we do that, using green technology, the sky's the limit. We can save the planet.
Yeah, you talk about transportation. I know that's one of the issues that's very important both to your constituency, and you've been out front on that issue, and you've really framed it quite nicely by talking about how long a commute people have. That seems like an almost inconceivable amount of time to have consumed just in your commute, and then to knock out a living wage, or barely a living wage, as things begin to change. What changes might be realistic, at least as you approach a problem like that, should you get in office?
Well, I believe that we need to invest meaningfully in our green energy. I've made a commitment to get us off of fossil fuels by 2035. And we do that, if we do that meaningfully here in this district, we have so many open spaces, and we have the ability, we're an island. So going around going around the island, getting around the island would say, an example would be using or creating a West Shore light rail that would ease the traffic in the middle of the island, where we only have essentially one highway that connects New Jersey to Brooklyn, and people are using this throughway. And even though it had major upgrades in 2009, the former Democratic congressman was able to bring back $150 million to the district to improve the highway system. It's only half done. Our current leadership, our current congressman, he hasn't even asked for the money. The guy who's trying to get his seat back, Michael Grimm, he wasn't even asking for the money. And we need that type of investment. So we have a lot of studies. We need to get into a position where we have plans to be shovel ready when the money is ready. And I believe that a progressive candidate like myself, getting down to Washington, thinking about these things in a macro way, gets the job done.
I love your message. And Michael DeVito, just such, I think, practical, but nonetheless aggressive approaches to these problems. And there's one personal thing about you that I love as well, because if people go, well, these are insurmountable issues, I don't see how you could possibly get ahead of them. You faced an insurmountable habit of cigarettes. I think it was 2.5 packs a day you smoked. And then you turned, you gave it up, and you became this runner. You should have dedicated yourself in your late 30s to not only shaking the cigarette habit, but now you run these marathons. I mean, you've really, again, reconstituted yourself in this area. I love that story.
Thanks so much. It's something that I'm proud of as a promise to my daughter, that when she moved from Okinawa, Japan to live with us here and to go to school in New York, that I would be smoke-free. And just, I guess, getting well and getting healthy was a quick thing to do, and I have a natural ability, and I use it every day. What's interesting about that is out there, I run in the mornings, and I am trying to connect to voters every morning, running around Staten Island, and I'm often connecting to people who are commuting. and they're just so angry and they're just so frustrated. And the reason why is because they're standing outside in the cold waiting for the bus to come and knowing that they're only going to get on a bus and they're going to take, they're going to travel an hour and a half just to get to a job and then an hour and a half home at night. And for somebody like me who doesn't have an off button, who has been getting up every day for the last 13 years, going to work to help people, trying to find solutions to everyday problems, I'm committed to helping Staten Islanders and South Brooklynites solve this problem.
One thing you never have to worry about is seeing any of the other candidates out there on your morning runs. I promise you won't see that. To help Michael DeVito, to support Michael DeVito, to get more information on Michael DeVito Jr., DeVitoforCongress.com. There's a donation link there as well. There's a volunteer link. All of that at the website, DeVitoforCongress.com. Michael DeVito, such an impressive guy. It was a pleasure to visit with you. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much.